Okay, everybody, so now we are going to learn about arrays in Java. So let's get straight into this. Let's learn by doing. Let's create a project to house these arrays in. So, arrays. Let's get some sample code and press create. Got our IntelliJ up here. Let's just collapse this. We're going to put all our code in here. So I'm going to create a comment which is going to say arrays. So obviously, first of all, what's an array? An array is like a list of data. It's an array, so to speak, of data, right? So for example, let's say we wanted to have an array of names, right? We might want a list of names. Let's just say we have a Ben, Sophia, Jonathan, Luke, and that list could go on and on and on. We have this list here and we want to sort of sequentially store things, right? So let's say, I don't know, we have a list of people that we want to contact for a job opening. We might want to store that in an array, and then we can do all sorts of things in that array. So we can add elements, we can remove elements, we can search for elements in this array. And this is a neat way of storing multiple bits of information rather than just one bit of information. So this example would be an array of strings, right? Because each of these is a string, right? We could have an array of numbers if we wanted to, or an array of integers. So we could have 1, 2, 3, 33, 4, 5, whatever, blah, 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 right? Yada, yada, yada. We could have an array of prices. So we might have 2.22, 2.35, and so on. You guys get the gist. So how do we create one of these in Java? Well, we're inside our main method. Here's what we do. So we need to decide what type of array this is going to be. Let's just create an array of integers for now. So we'll go int, as if we're defining an integer, and then we want to put 2 square brackets after it, space, and then we want to give our name to our array, so we could say list of ages. We're going to go equals. And now we want to instantiate this array with some data. So we do this by using the squiggly brackets and then writing our array like this. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 99. Something like that, right? And obviously this is going to store all of these different integers. We can store like a set of integers, right? Rather than just one integer, we can store as ever many as we want. We need a semicolon off that. So that's how we create an array that has values in it. Now, there might be an instance where we might want an array without any values in it, and they could all be blanks, right? So we go array with values populated. And obviously we can output those. We can output list of ages and then see what comes up. And as you see here, we've got this weird stuff coming up. Now, this is obviously a hash code and things like that, but we don't need to go into that now as this is a fundamentals tutorial. So in order to print the list of ages, we actually need to iterate over every one of these ages and print out each one. Because obviously we have this collection of numbers, but we can't just print them all out. We need to go over them, right? So we have all these numbers stored. Let's output them. Now, if we want to output these, we need to use something called a for loop. Now we're gonna go over the for loop in even more detail in a later chat, in the next chapter actually, but this is sort of an introduction. So this will all be explained in the next video, but you're just gonna have to copy and learn for now. Here's how we do a for loop in Java. For brackets, int index equals 0, semicolon, index is less than list of ages dot length index plus plus, and then a space there, and then a curly brace. Now in here we can then print out the individual element. Now we want to go system out print list of ages and then square bracket index. Now some of you guys might be able to figure out what's going on here by yourselves. If you can't, that's absolutely fine. Let's run it and see what happens. Okay, so we see that we've outputted all of these numbers in that array in the same order as they are here. So for example, if we change 6 to 66 and then rerun it, we will see the same thing except for 6 is 66. Now, we'll go over this in more detail later, but let's just get rid of this for now. So you saw that we had this index stuff going on here. Let's say we want to retrieve just one bit of the array without having to iterate over the array using a for loop. So what a for loop does is it goes like here, 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 here. Until it gets to the end, and that doesn't do it anymore. Now, if we want to just get one element of the array, let's say we want to get the first element of the array, we don't need to do a for loop. All we need to do is this. That's system out print list of ages and then square bracket 0. Just like that. Now you're probably thinking, okay, we're referencing the list of ages, but why is it 0 for the first one and not something like, 1? And that's because we have these indexes on this array, and essentially it starts at 0, right? So then we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, right? So index 0 is going to give us 1. And by the way, it doesn't matter if these numbers are in order or not. It doesn't matter what these numbers are. We could have this number here, right? And that would still map to index 0 because it is the first number that comes up in the array. Now hopefully this will print out 6761, as we can see here. So now if we go list of ages at index 1, hopefully we'll get 2. Cool. Now you see these square brackets around here. This is basically telling Java that we want to get it at the first index. Right, so when we do this, it's like referencing a normal variable, except for we're getting a single element. So it's going to be this one here for index 1 starts at 0. So that's how we reference a specific one. But let's say we want to change an array or an element of an array. Here's how we would do that. So if we want to change the first element to 69, then we do it like this. So just like changing a normal variable, we go list of ages at index 0, which is the first element here. And then we can just reassign it. So we can say is equal to 69. Make sure to put a semicolon at the end. And obviously if we run this, it will be doing stuff, but we haven't, you know, output anything, so nothing's going to come up. So now what we'll do is we will output the first element of the array. So now let's go system.out.print ln list of ages at 0. Let's see what comes up. 69, cool. So now let's just, you know, show the change, right? So let's add this string in for some readability. So we'll say now the first element is, and then it will come up as, you know, now the first element is 69. Let's copy this here, and let's put it in between these two bits here. You know, in between where we've changed it. So at this point, we haven't changed it yet. So we should expect to see 6761 here, and then we change it, and then after that, we see 69. So now it's that, now it's that. So we can see that it changes. So this stuff in conjunction with, you know, for loops is sort of the very basics of arrays in Java. But there's one more thing I'd like to touch on. So let's get rid of some of this and keep this array. So this is just one way of defining an array. We can define an array, you know, with empty variables, and we can even define an array with empty values, and we can have them all empty if we wanted. So if we wanted to define an array with all empties, here's what we would do. We'd go int array as normal. We'll name this list with empty. We can go equals. And now here's where it differs. So if we don't know what the values are going to be, but we want to fill it up, let's say, later on in the program, we need to go like this. New int. And then inside here, we need to put the maximum length that this can be, that this array can be. In fact, let me rename these array instead of list, and you'll see why I'm renaming this in a later module. Make sure to put the semicolon there. And we want there to be a maximum length of 10. Now, if we don't put a maximum length in here, it will throw an error and assume that this is of length 0. And obviously there's no point in creating something that has a length of 0, so that's why it throws the error. Let's keep that to 10. And now we can actually like fill up the array. So let's say we want, you know, our first element of the array, of the empty array, to be 89. And we might want the second element, which is going to be index 1. We might have that equal to be 100. And we could have, you know, the seventh element of the array, which would be 6, because obviously we start at 0. We could have that equal, you know, 10,000, right? And essentially, you can sort of see that we're sort of partially filling up the array, but there'll be some values in here that are blanks. So I'm just going to get rid of this original array that we have here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to output array with empty at index 0 and see what comes up. Now obviously, as expected, we have 89 because we filled that in here. Now here's the bit where things get a bit weird. So we filled up this array, but let's come up with an index that hasn't been filled. For example, index 3, which will be the fourth element. Let's see what comes up. 0. Now the reason why this is, obviously we haven't set it to 0 ourselves, but the default value for an integer is 0 if there's nothing there. So 0 implies the absence of a value there. Now what I'm going to do is write a for loop again. And again, we'll go over the mechanics and how that for loop works next. but I'm just going to create one called I, and then we're going to go I is less than array with empty.length, I++. Then I'm going to output array with empty at index I. Now, we've gone through all of this stuff, so you might start to understand kind of what's going on here. But let's run this and see what it comes up with. So as you can see, we have a lot of 0 values in here. And this is essentially printing out the entirety of this array. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 elements. And only 3 of them are filled in because we did that here. The rest are all zeroed out. This indicates that these are empty. So that was the basics of arrays in Java. Hopefully you guys understand. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Hopefully this for loop will make sense after the next episode. So see you there.